What I will tell you is that while we work for him, he works on us.
She is talking about Sri Satya Sai Baba.
My two top achievements in this life would be being a mother and being an officer in this organization.
Longtime New Jersey resident Prity Bhatt. She has devoted her life to her family, Sai Baba, and as you'll hear, to her father, who died more than a dozen years ago.
My father expressed a last wish, and his wish was that we have 24 hours of bhajans at home.
Prity's father's final wish was granted, and this home, this room, was crowded with singers and friends.
The reason I wanted to share this with you today is that today is my father's 13th anniversary
Of his death.
of his passing. Yes.
Today is.
Today.
In this house.
In this house.
And your mother's in his room, probably.
And yes, she's in their room, yeah.
Usha, who's a beautiful, beautiful person.
Yes.
Well, gives me chills.
Yeah.
See how Baba works?
Yes. And so when I woke up this morning, my first thought was, oh, this is the story I want to share given what today is.
Prity Bhatt shares a heartwarming story with all of us, the story of family love and of the love of the family teacher, avatar, and guide, Sri Satya Sai Baba. Welcome to Souljourns. This interview was recorded in New Jersey on May 26, 2019.
Prity Bhatt, Sai Ram, and welcome to Souljourns.
Sai Ram, and thanks for having me.
I have a whole list of things I could talk to you about, but I know you have one story in particular. But before we get to that, how did you come into the fold of Sai Baba?
So it's interesting. My parents started visiting Satya Sai Baba in 1988, but after I was married. And they became regular visitors to his ashram from that year till into 2000s. Every year they would spend a couple of months there, and they were just, they knew that he is God. But by that time I was married and I was out of the house and I was busy starting my own family, and really sort of knew about him but was not really engaged in any activities till my children, or my older one, was ready to start some sort of program, and we were looking for some sort of program to provide what we were thinking was some sort of cultural foundation for him, and my father suggested that we take him to SSC, and a center was forming in this area at that point, and so we started, and it was a brand new center, very handful of children in the program, and I would sit at the back of the classroom and learn along with him as he was learning about about Baba's teachings. And slowly I was drawn to it, and by this time my parents have moved in this house with us. So we had a big library of books, and so I started reading about it, and the more I read, the more interested I got, and then the rest is history.
And as Chet, your husband, told me, and if Prity's going to become so enmeshed in this as she is already, then I have a choice, and I better choose correctly to join her.
Wise man.
Very wise man. I'm curious, you said your parents came at a pretty advanced age. Do you have any idea how your mother and or your father were attracted to Baba?
They used to live in Pennsylvania at that time, and there was a local Sai group, and one of the friends they knew invited them, and at that meeting I believe they saw Swami materializing, or no, they were given a videotape of Swami, of the famous Shivratri video where Swami is bringing vibhuti from that urn that's over Shirdi Sai Baba statue. And they were quite intrigued, and they wanted to know more about him. So finally they decided that they're going to go and visit and check it out for themselves.
And what they found they liked.
Yes, absolutely.
And now it's 3 generations.
Now it's 3 generations.
Your grown children, your boys are Sai devotees as well. So what's maybe the most important thing you'd like to share? But when I think of your involvement in the Sai world, it's wonderful that you're a Sai devotee, but you're much more. You're a Sai parent. You're a Sai spouse. You were regional president of the Mid-Atlantic Sai region. How were you drawn to such powerful leadership roles, and how has that paid off for you?
Well, what I would say is that that's His grace. I was first regional education coordinator, and once that was over, I was selected as the regional president, and then when that was over, I was selected as the national devotion coordinator.
And that's your current job, right?
And that's my current
the
role.
national position.
Yes, and so I just feel it's His grace. I'm not sure how, what people saw in me, but what I will tell you is that while we work for Him, He works on us. Mm-hmm. And I really feel that has impacted me more than anything else. For me, my two top achievements in this life would be being a mother, mm-hmm. and being an officer in this organization. Those are my top two.
Well,
awards.
What else could compare to that? The satisfaction must be immeasurable. And what you said, ditto for me. It's how I learn. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be 74, and Jody says, do you have the energy to go to a retreat? And, they're going to put you to work, and you're going to work for 4 or 5 days before and after. And I finally convinced her it's how I learn most about my own spiritual journey, talking to other people, hearing them answer questions. Having said all this now, tell me about what you believe, I believe, Baba gave you in a dream last night that you awakened from this morning, to share with us on Souljourns.
So it was not a dream, but it was a story that I think has touched me most deeply. I've never had a formal, even one-word exchange with Baba. I visited him many times while he was in his physical form, and I continue to visit Prashanti Nilayam. So I'm about to tell you a story that I felt had probably the biggest impact in my moving closer to Bhagwan in my heart. And this takes place in 2006, so we are going back 13 years. Mm-hmm. And my father was very ill, and we got a word from, finally from the doctors that he's going to have to move to hospice care, and he could be moved back home because my father's wish was to come back home. And there's nothing medical science can do at this point. So we started working with social workers, trying to figure out how to place him, what would make him most comfortable once he got home. And while we were trying to get the house ready, trying to get all the equipment that he would need at home, my father expressed a last wish. And his wish was that we have 24 hours of bhajans at home.
24 hours of bhajans.
Yeah. And we are used to having global Akhand bhajans in Sai organization every November. And you know how much planning goes behind those. There's, people have meetings and they have conference calls and they come up with very detailed plans on how to conduct that for 24 hours. There's a lot of coordination that goes in place. So this was on a Wednesday. He was going to come home on Thursday, and he wanted the bhajans to start as soon as he got home for next 24 hours.
And so while he was alive?
This is when he was alive, officially transitioning to hospice care. So, and this is already Wednesday, and we had many things to figure out, where to place his hospital bed, where to have him, how are we going to shuffle things in the house to make sure he's comfortable. And my husband made one phone call to our Sai Center president at that time, saying this is the situation and we would need help in having people come and sing because it's such a long period of time. So that's all we did. And at 3 o'clock on Thursday, my father was brought inside the house in a stretcher. We had the altar and everything set up in the family room. And as soon as his stretcher came by the family room, we started with 3 ohms and we started singing. And he was in the next room, in his room, and a small speaker was placed in his room so he could hear all the bhajans that were being sung. And people started coming after work. People started pouring in one after another and spending time and singing and helping us out through that time. And and that was a Thursday. Our center holds bhajans on Thursdays. So they finished bhajans at the center, and then more people came over. And this is now, you know, we are going past midnight, and people are still here. And we had people who said, you know, they wanted to be here all night and sing with us. So this continued till about 2 a.m. And then at that point, my mom said, you know what, let's put some CDs in a non-stop mode, and let's let those songs be played. Let's all of us go get some rest, because we just didn't, you know, have the energy by that time to keep on going.
Sure.
Because there was emotional, you know, energy that we were trying to conserve, as well as trying to stay focused, and it was a really trialing time for us. So for 4 hours or so, and we had members who said, we are happy to just stay here and sing all night. If you guys want to go rest for a bit, do that. But, you know, we decided that it's good to give them a break too. And then next morning, again, people started coming. And not only were they coming, they were bringing food with them, so that we didn't have to worry about feeding them or ourselves. There was enough food for everybody. So people were just so thoughtful in what they were doing for us. And this went on, and then we had another individual. So now it's Friday morning, and people have to go to work. It's a working day. And our retreat was going to start that Friday. So there is demands on people trying to commute to the retreat, and we had one individual who who wrote little chits and yes and no, and placed in front of Swami and said, ask Swami whether he should go to work or come to our house and continue to help us. And the chit that he picked said, go to Priti's house. So we had, you know, stories like that where people were just, they kept on coming during the day and helping us. And so we were able to successfully sing till 3 p.m. and conclude 24 hours of, you know, singing at that point. And couple of things. One was that, at least for me, my attention was taken away from my father and the last few days that he was going to be on this earth, and got focused on a higher power. Second, the support that we received from the organization members in a short notice was just unbelievable. And one thing my dad said after the bhajans were over, he asked me, how are you going to pay back to all these people, to the organization that has supported us?
Yeah, right.
And I didn't know what to say, and he said, you can never do it. And he's so true. He was so right. So I'm sorry if I'm getting a little emotional here.
I'm guessing that payback would be the last thing any of them would think about, versus the gift they would have received by being participants in this.
Well, and even for us, it was a big gift of their support and their time. So, so the reason I wanted to share this, even though it's a very personal story, the reason I wanted to share this with you today is that today is my father's 13th anniversary
Of his death.
of his passing. Yes.
Today is.
Today.
In this house.
In this house.
And your mother's in his room, probably.
Yes, she's in their room, yeah.
Usha, who's a beautiful, beautiful person.
Yes.
Well, gives me chills.
Yeah.
See how Baba works?
Yes. And so when I woke up this morning, my first thought was, oh, this is the story I want to share, given what today is.
May I share a little story?
Of course.
This is a wonderful story you just gave me, and it reminded me of a wonderful story that a woman by the name of Lida gave Jody and me. She was a good Jewish woman, real estate broker, really a wonderful person and madly in love with Baba. 4th-stage cancer. She's in the hospice. She's dying. You get a call on a Sunday morning, real early. We're in bed. It's so early. Hi, Dad. Hi, Jody. This is Lida. Don't get up. I know it's a speakerphone. Don't get up and answer the phone. I'm just calling to tell you that Baba has come to me and says he's taking me today.
Wow.
She was that energetic.
Wow.
She was that loving. She was that happy. I jumped out of bed and ran over there and picked up the phone. Lida, What do you mean, don't get out of bed? Don't come over and talk to you. How do you know? Trust me, Ted, he came to me, and he's taking me today. I said, Lita, you're so vibrant. You can't possibly be ready to go. Yeah. No, believe me, I'm ready to go. And she's got kids and grandkids, and Jody and I say, well, we got to rally the troops. Just like you did. We put in a call to the Sai president in our region, and called Seema Dewan and her family down in Canton, a 60-minute drive away, and others, and everybody converged on the hospice of the Western Reserve. Seema brought candles and incense and vibhuti and amrit. People had recorders there with Om Namah Shiva going continuously. Lita would come in and out of sleep because she was quite exhausted, of course. She smiled, she greeted everybody, she was verbal and she was alert and awake. And what did I do? I went out to pick up a couple more people at 7 o'clock in the evening, and I was one of the few people who missed it. The room was filled with Baba devotees, bhajans, cheering her on, wishing her well, telling them how much they love her, and she died.
Oh, sweet.
And she died that day. Interesting how Baba devotees, your father, what a wonderful way to go. I wouldn't want to burden Jody with all the work that would be involved, having people come and singing bhajans.
Yeah, and what a last wish to have.
Yeah.
Imagine.
And what a gift to you.
Yes, to all of us.
What a gift to and to himself.
Yes.
Can you imagine how he felt?
Yeah, his death was inspirational.
Yeah.
Of course, his life was inspirational, but his death was inspirational.
How old was he? Do you remember?
He died when he was 74 years old.
Let's close on a note that is all yours. What do you want to say after giving us that great gift that might be useful to people watching this who are new to Baba? In some cases, they've never even heard of Baba's name. They're watching this by coincidence.
So all I would say is that, especially now that he's there in his cosmic form, know that he's with us. He's there always, and he works his magic through this very, very slow osmosis process that we don't even realize that it's happening to us, and that how his teachings are drawing us towards him, and his teachings are there for us forever. So
say one final word on what you told me as you drove me up the 4-hour drive up to the Poconos for the retreat. I think it was then when you said, you and I are going to co-facilitate a workshop on Sai adults, I think, on the subject of expansion. And you said very quickly, we don't necessarily mean to expand the organization numerically with new members coming and joining us. We mean to expand our own awareness.
Yes, so we have this national initiative called Cultural Inclusion and Expansion.
Cultural Inclusion and Expansion.
Right, and it's not, expansion doesn't allude to expanding our numbers or necessarily
it could.
Getting more. It could. We're not saying we don't want to do that, but that's not the focus. Expansion is our own expansion of our hearts, our expansion of our own transformation, how we are moving. And like Baba has said, expansion is my life, right? So how are we looking at that? And that's what it's about. How do we transform our centers so that we are sharing his universal love and his universal teachings with all?
And who dreamed up that wonderful theme, expansion and inclusion?
So that came from one of his quotes. And his quote said, and of course I don't remember the reference to the quote, but it said, love is inclusion and love is expansion. And so it comes from one of his quotes.
Tremendous interview. I always profit from them, and I'm forever grateful. God bless you. Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Thank you.